Assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. What's going on? This is the All Facts Podcast. My name is Haris Vikar, and today we have another episode. And this is going to be the next episode of The Ethical Hustle, a series where I call Muslim professionals in different fields of work. And we are going to be discussing how we integrate faith in our work and how it drives our daily decisions. So today I have Brother Mohammed Maxwell Hasan. Care to introduce yourself?
All right, Assalamu alaykum, everyone. Welcome to be. It's an honor to be here, Brother Harris, and I appreciate the invitation. A little bit about me. The way I look at it is you don't get a second chance at a first impression. That's one thing that I've learned across the board, but if you want to get a little deep dive into my story, it all starts with TED. You ever heard of TED Talks, Brother Harris?
Of course, I always listen to a lot of them, yeah.
You see, I watch one after the other, get inspired. It's truly amazing to see, but it's not the same when you watch something behind the screen versus being in person. So I was looking around.
Mhm.
I looked to my left, I looked to my right, saying, is there an actual TED event near me? And the answer was no. I looked in my locality, there was no TED in my city. So you know what they say, if opportunity doesn't knock, build the door. So if you wait for other people
Inspirational
to
right there.
make things happen, yeah, man. If opportunity doesn't knock, build the door. So if if you wait for someone else to give you that opportunity, then you're going to be waiting a long time. So Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah
Yeah.
subhanahu wa ta'ala, jumping through all those hoops, managed to acquire the TEDx license and hosted not just one, but two TEDx events. That's one part. The second part is, as Muslims, as awesome as TED is, as much of benefit it is, I've always was wondering, what's it like for Muslims to be able to put themselves out there? You see, what does Islam have to offer? Especially here in the West, in North American society, people are thinking as consumers, what is in it for me? They're thinking about everything on
Correct.
that nature. So I was wondering and asking myself that question, what does Islam have in terms of communication? And so I
Yes.
looked around, looked to my right, looked to my left, and said, is anyone doing this for Muslims? And again, the answer is no. If opportunity doesn't knock, build a door, and that door is called Kalam Power.
Alhamdulillah. So now that you shared your journey and you kind of went through how the Islamic principles guided you to who you are and just the ability to just take action, you saw that there was an opportunity, you decided to take action right there. So, what are some of the key lessons? You did touch a bit on this. I will kind of want you to go more in depth for what were the key lessons that you learned throughout your educational and professional journey. So, when you started Kalam Power, were there any specific challenges you had to overcome?
Absolutely. For me personally, from a business side, that's one thing, but more so for the people I've noticed. You see, I used to think that it was obvious that people want to improve their speaking skills, regular interviews, networking events. To me, it was obvious, clear as day. But through my journey, through my experience, I realized that people do not, I repeat, they do not seek help until they need it, until it becomes a burning desire, until they fail that job interview, until they have a really tragic experience on stage. That's when people start to seek out, oh, how do I improve my speaking abilities? So that's one hard lesson that I've learned. I used to think that, oh, no, I'm just going to open up my shop and people are just going to be waltzing right in and I'm just going to, no, it's a certain
Yeah.
segment, very specialized and very niche. Most people aren't willing to look out for it until they need it. It's almost like you don't go to the hospital unless you're sick or unless if something
Yes.
really tragic happens. May Allah protect us. So similarly,
Inshallah.
people aren't faced with the day to day with the communication problems until it really hits them like a brick wall. Give you an example. There was one client of mine who approached me on LinkedIn. I said, "Hey, what's going on? How'd you find me? What's the story?" He kept telling me that he was continuously failing at the end of every interview. He always got to the end
Mhm.
result. So he got the interview, sure, but he couldn't land the job. And that's where that desire, that pain really started to boil up. And that's when he reached for help. So that's the first lesson I noticed when it comes to people who look at communication. They look at it as something as a nice to have, but you really have to want it. The second thing I noticed,
Yeah, actually, wait, I'm gonna cut
especially
you off there. Just you can continue on later. What a previous podcast episode I had with a brother Noman, when he was talking about how he got to Deloitte, which is the big four, a lot of people's dreams to work there. He said one of the few things is that he didn't really talk about his GPA or how smart he was. What he really did was focus more on the soft skills because people underestimate the value of how to actually present yourself and the communication aspect of interviews and even giving speeches. If you are very well spoken, people will take you seriously. They will most likely enjoy the talk, and they'll love hearing to you. So this kind of really brings in all the different aspects of communication. You have to understand how to present, and you also have to understand when you are great at presenting, that can open a lot of doors. Even if you may not be the smartest in the room, you may not be the most like well spoken, but as long as you get the message across, it's gonna build a lot of doors. So I think you can probably understand that and yeah, continue on.
no, absolutely. That actually leads nicely to the second point, which is how you look isn't reflective of what you say. So
Exactly.
exactly what you're saying. Like you can be, I've met so many brilliant people, truly, truly smart, and they look the part. But when they talk, it's not representative of that. Unfortunately, they
Mhm.
stumble their words, they say they're doubtful, they look down, not out of like, especially for Muslims, we are very mindful of our gaze, of our eyes,
Yes.
but but this is out of shyness, out of unnecessary shyness.
Modesty. Yes.
Look, the fact of the matter is that the world is not run by shy people. I'm telling you, chances are you take a big corporation, you take big names, take anyone, it takes a strong personality to make things happen. You think the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and all the
Sallallahu
companions,
alaihi
they were
wasallam.
just on the sidelines, just doing, no, they all were. Why do we have Islam today? Because they had strong personalities. So what I've realized is that there's so many brilliant people, but what's really holding them back from their opportunities, from getting that promotion, from even speaking out on podcasts or just even giving da'wah, it's this inability to speak. So that's trying to
Yes.
really carve out this part. So, kudos to the fellow podcaster who or the guest who made that observation by acknowledging that, look, soft skills are the keys to the kingdom. Because you can have the hard skills, that's
Yes.
important, but the soft skills is what keeps you there. Hard skills are what's important, but soft skills is what keeps you there.
Yes. Especially when soft skills are essentially the biggest part in any sort of relationship. If you build a relationship with someone, whether that's romantically, friendship, and even with your coworkers, communication or just being able to speak modestly, uh, being eloquent, that can go a long way. And a lot of people don't really talk about that. So actually, I'm gonna dive into the next question I'm gonna ask you, which do we kind of did go through how how Islam helped you in that process, and we also went through the door that you built. So how can one really improve their speaking communication on a day-to-day basis? How can they speak fluently and eloquently? And I can talk a little bit about that because of course there's always a journey for someone being good at public speaking. No one is good at public speaking just straight from the womb. You could maybe you could testify against that, but let's just say this is the case. Because me personally, I was not a great speaker. And then eventually the more practice I did, so you can say giving khutbahs or even doing this podcast, eventually I had to learn the voice and the eloquence in my speech to get the message across. One strategy I really did was if I were to give a presentation, I'd record myself giving the presentation and then I'd listen to that recording. And from that recording, I'd say, okay, no, maybe I should emphasize more at this point. Or okay, oh, this part should maybe be said before because it really brings the message. So these are kind of my strategies going forward. I want to hear more about what you want to say about how can someone improve their communication or just speaking on a day-to-day basis.
You know, when you mentioned about people who aren't from the womb, I'm like, the only exception is probably Isa alayhi salam, yeah? Spoke from the
SubhanAllah.
cradle, you know? That's one,
SubhanAllah.
that's one.
It was a miracle of Allah, though. So we cannot, like, no one's gonna get the miracle of Allah straight from there.
That's a huge exception. I hear you. But to answer your question, I would divide into two parts. Part one, this is for the average person who's listening to this and watching this. Before I can give you any strategies, it's like I give you all the tools in the world. I can give you the best hammer, I can give you the best screwdriver, I can give you the best wrench, I can give you everything. But it means nothing if you don't have a reason. So you need to be absolutely clear cut as to why do you want to improve your communication skills? Is it so that way you could get a promotion? Is it to be able to network with people? Is it to make more connections in the masjid or at work or what have you? You got to be crystal clear about your reason first. Otherwise, whatever I'm going to
Yes.
say is going to go down the drain because it's useless. I give you the best hammer, but if you're not going to tell me what you're going to use it for, it just goes nowhere. So that's for the average individual. But let's say we talk to someone who does know what they want. Let's say they do know
Yes.
the importance, they value the importance of communication. So for those individuals, they're already they're like, okay, ready to go. I'd say a few things. So number one, you hit the nail on the head when it comes to recording. You see, most people don't want to give feedback. Not only they don't want to, they don't know how to. They they're not trained. It's almost like you go to the doctor, you expect the doctor to know every in and outs and be able to assess you and figure out what diagnose what's the problem. Most people don't have those eyes and ears. They have a general basic understanding, but they're not really necessarily trained to figure out what it is that you're looking or lacking. So number one, the camera never lies. So when you record yourself, let's just say hypothetically, let's say we're going for an interview and you
Yeah.
want to be able to monitor and see how well am I doing this interview. Yeah, you can ask people and friends, but the best thing you can do is grab your camera and then just look at yourself. Would you hire yourself? That's the
Yeah.
first thing. That's the main thing. That's number one. And number two, I would say is structure. Most people have no structure in their speech. They just talk. And have you ever sat in a lecture or listened to a khutbah? No disrespect. It's just that it's all over the place.
Oh,
You heard
yes.
this, brother
Multiple
Harris?
times. Multiple times. Especially, I
Multiple
could say
times.
more so on lectures rather than I believe in lectures is more easy to go off key because you can just go on tangents. Khutbahs, you can't really go on tangents.
Oh, I would respectfully disagree, man. Quick
No,
story.
no,
There is
obviously
this one
it can
brother.
happen. Obviously it can happen. I'm just saying for me, like from all the speeches, it was least likely to happen during khutbahs. Yeah, I know it can happen.
No, no, I hear you. It's good to hear that like you had pleasant experiences in the khutbah, but let me tell you a negative one. Man, there's this one brother who was shaking his fist at the khatib, saying that like I'm never gonna come back to this masjid. You wasted my time. I don't understand, and like just verbally, just
Yeah, I know. I've
really
seen
going at it.
situations
So
actually. Yeah,
so it's unfortunate. So the point is structure, structure, structure. The way I look at a speech is like your skeleton. Your skeleton holds up your body, so your structure needs to hold up your message. Most people don't have structure. So that's two things right off the bat. I'd say record and have structure. And mashallah, with Kalam Power, we do have structures. That's just something down the line.
quick note before we started, he made me test my lighting and just make sure we had a similar structure. Although I felt the structure was good because I did send you questions beforehand. The lighting, alhamdulillah, like this brother who has worked in TED he works in Kalam Power helping people with their communication. It's great we have brothers like him, and it's great that I got advice even though I've been doing this for quite some time. So I'm gonna branch off actually. So communication can be pretty vague. If someone were to ask you communication, you say, okay, what does that mean? Do you mean speaking? Do you mean writing? Do you mean anything else? Physical, like body language? There's a lot of things you can consider communication. So I believe you also are someone who's written quite a couple pieces, right?
Yes.
So what advice would you give to young professionals or just aspiring writers, and what are essentially the key lessons you learned throughout your writing journey rather than just speaking? So take the
Yeah,
floor on
no,
that,
for sure. I mean,
or write the floor on
absolutely.
that.
I'd say that the, okay, one of the biggest misunderstandings and mistakes people make is when they say, write the way you talk. The fact is, we don't
That's
write
tough.
the same
Yeah.
way we talk. You
Speak.
see, most people, when they are writing, you're digesting information, you're processing it in a different way. And when people talk, they're you again, if you had a transcript of this exact podcast or this exact episode, you're going to see our structures are not grammatically right at some points, but we're understanding each other at some
Yes.
level. There's maybe a part where like a thought, because our brains are hardwired differently. Our brain is just scattered there. The brain is meant to search for connections. So when you have a topic, and then going back to when you were saying the lectures have tangents, what happens is something triggers in their mind. Oh, that reminds me of this. Oh, that
Yes.
reminds me of that. Oh, that reminds me. It's no accident. That's how our brains are wired. But when you have a nice article, what the author or authors are doing is they take away all the and put it nice and clean and making it organized so it's all streamlined. So the number one thing I would say, right? The way we speak are mixed it up right there. The way we talk is not the way we write. So these are two
Yes.
separate skills altogether. And number two, there's this advice that I was told that absolutely revolutionized the way I look at writing. Don't write so that you're understood. Write so that you are not misunderstood. You can't be misunderstood with it. So it's a difference.
Yeah.
If you write
Subhanallah.
something, it's a different, because when you write a sentence, people can interpret things in so many different ways. But when you write in a way that you cannot be misunderstood, you're really shrinking down the interpretations. And we're human. We have our we have all sorts of if the Quran, the word of Allah, the ultimate authority
Yeah.
for us as Muslims, if people can take the same surah and willy-nilly just have their own interpretations, you can only go so far, even with us as human beings. What about that? So the key is, don't write so that you can be understood, write so you cannot be misunderstood. And when you do that, you're going to find that your communication is a lot more streamlined and to the point.
Wow. No, that second point where you said you have to write in a sense where don't try to make the person understand you, just don't make them misunderstand you. And now I'm kind of going through this process in my head. Wait, how can I not be misunderstood? So now, but you did mention that in the first point where you just don't write as how you speak. Which
Exactly.
actually
Yeah,
was a
it's
lesson I learned. This was a lesson I learned when I was young. So I felt that I'm kind of grateful I learned that when I was younger. But it doesn't matter when you learn the information, as soon as you apply it, then you can go a long way, right?
100%.
Okay, so last thing I actually have for you is if you're big on communication, and I'm also big on communication, put me on the spot. Give me whatever prompt you want to give me. Just put me on the spot. I'll try to do my best.
All right, brother Harris, if you ask for it. So here's a common scenario, and this can be easily applicable across the board. Let's say we are in an interview. You're applying for a job,
Okay.
and you have to answer this $1 million question. Tell me about yourself. So, Harris, tell me about yourself.
Gladly. So, I'm Haris Vikar. I'm a aspiring entrepreneur, podcast host, and an aspiring writer. In the past, always used to think, what is my place in this world? What was I meant to do? And eventually I came across that, okay, I should get into the world of business and entrepreneurship in any sort in technology and business, because technology and business are the clear emerging factors in this world. And right now, I have my podcast and I have my book. I'm writing a book, and these are helping my communication process. And currently, I'm actually working in data analytics that can help with the technology side of things. And in the future, I plan to become that entrepreneur that I really hope to become. And as soon as my book can be released, I'll be the author. And with this podcast, I am the podcast host already. And I'm good for this job because I have these three valuable skills. I have communication, whether it's written and speaking. I also have data analytics, which can help me understand for this job as a data analyst. And the last part, the very important one, is that I have the knowledge that I am hoping to apply. So I hope that answers your question. That's who I am, the jack of all trades.
MashaAllah. All right. Let me dissect this. So for
I know
starters,
that was not one of the best ones, but
no,
let's
no, no,
take
no.
care
Okay,
of
okay,
that.
right. Okay, let's stop right there, brother Harris. Let's stop right there. Would you punch yourself in a street fight? You're fighting somebody
No,
in the street. Would
no,
you
no,
punch
no, no,
yourself?
obviously.
You wouldn't,
Obviously.
right? You wouldn't beat yourself
Yeah.
up in the middle of a fight.
Yeah, yeah. You
So
want to see
Brother
someone.
Harris, right there, right there. When you were saying, "Oh, I know it's not good," so why are we punching
No,
ourselves
no,
with our
no, no,
words?
no, no. I know I could do better. I'm saying this is the best I could do now. That was
Even,
misunderstood. Hey, hey, I'm not
I
writing, I'm speaking. I'm not misunderstood there.
I got you. Don't worry. No, I'm just using this as an example for
Yes,
folks that this
that's
is
a good point.
it creeps in unconsciously and you don't even realize you're saying it. When people they say, I don't know if this idea is going to be good, or I don't know if this is the best thing. And so what ends up happening is you start shrinking yourself. So number one, like right off the okay, let's start with the pros and then we'll go with the areas of improvement. I'd say if the pros, mashallah, you had a lot of stuff to say right off the bat. So you know yourself very well. You came prepared,
Yes.
A plus. You didn't stumble and fumble. Some of my clients, they kind of get sidetracked. They don't know, they don't have enough to say, but you didn't have that issue. So great. You have a lot of good stuff and you're proud of the fact that you're, making your book, which is fantastic, mashallah. Really, really wonderful to see. Also, the fact that you didn't have ums or uhs to like I couldn't even count that many. So you already
Filler words, yeah.
had that you barely had any like stalls or anything like that. So this is really good too, mashallah. In terms of how to really maximize this, I said before, you don't get a second chance at a first
I'm making
impression.
impression.
You don't get a second chance. It's done. It's the first time and it's over. So what I'd say is the number one thing, remember how I said don't speak the way you write?
Yes.
Humbly, as a humble observation, the way you talked, it's like bullet points on a resume. I'm
Interesting.
doing this. I'm also this. I also got this. I also this. By the way, I have a book coming out and this and this. So what ends up happening is I'm
There's
sitting
just
there
a bunch of
politely. You see,
information.
I'm
There's just a
sitting here
bunch of
politely, just
information
nodding
that
my
isn't there.
I'm sitting here politely and I'm nodding my head. And what's happening is you're giving me like 100 miles an hour of information, and I'm have to process all this without looking at a piece of paper. And this is what you did is totally common. I've seen this all the time. So here's my remedy of how to flip it upside down. What you do is if someone was to ask me or ask anyone, tell me about yourself, tell a story. Tell a
Storytelling in
story very
interviews, yes.
succinct and a story about you. Because I don't, if you have your resume, I can read all about what you just told me. I need to hear you. I need to hear your story. And if you can tell your story in a minute, boom, you can really connect with people because the fact of the matter is facts tell, but stories sell. So yeah, facts tell, but stories sell. So the most important thing is you want to commit to one aspect of you. So in the very beginning, you noticed I was talking about if opportunity doesn't knock, build the door. So the whole idea
Yes.
is just creating opportunities by Allah's permission. That's the only thing you got to know about me. I didn't go into details or things of that nature, just simply a teaser. In movies, before the movie comes out, what do they have? A trailer,
Trailers.
right? So you want to be able to, most people want to give the movie without the trailer. Once you get the trailer, then people will be more invested in you. So That's the main thing I'd say when it comes to tell me about yourself. And this applies not only to interviews. Let's say you're at a conference or you're at an event, you're just sitting beside someone at a buffet line. Hey, what are you up to? Or just a little quick story goes a long way.
Yeah, you did. I'm not sure if you noticed, but in the beginning, I did try to do the story. I was saying, oh, when I was younger in the past, I wanted to solve this and that, and then that led to this, but I didn't really build upon that. So yeah, what's kind of the best way to commit to it is just make up a story on the spot.
No, the thing is, so two things. Number one, this is a symptom of lack of structure. You know,
Yeah.
that's the one thing that I would say right off. When you have a structure, it's a game plan, then you already just run it through that. And that's something that Kalam Power offers as an example. But the other thing I would say is you want to have it already in the back of your pocket. You want something that's already there. If I ask you, what's your name? You already know it, right? So if someone tells you, okay, I'm in the middle of the desert, I'm in the middle of the rainforest, and someone asks me, tell me about yourself, you should be able to answer it right off the bat because you never know. Opportunities can strike anytime. MashaAllah, tabarakallah, I can't tell you how many random instances I've had. I was on a staircase. I'm in the middle of waiting for something. A guy was offering me a job staircase. He knew me from before, but we were having a conversation. He was like, "Hey man, if you want to do this, I'm happy to have you." So I'm just giving it as an
No
example to
way.
demonstrate that
Yeah.
when you have, by Allah's permit, all I'm trying to say is when you know how to present yourself, opportunities can strike anytime, anywhere. It's not
Hmm.
most deals aren't closed in the boardroom. Most deals are closed at the coffee house, in the park, when you're just having casual conversations many times, unless we're talking the big time meetings and professional businesses. But for most cases, once you're in, then that's formalities. But majority of the time, if I can't connect with you, if I don't trust you, I won't work with you. So that's the ultimate key. When you tell me about yourself, am I intrigued? And not only if I'm intrigued, can I trust this guy or lady for the
Were you
systems?
intrigued by the information I gave?
I was processing it, man. The one thing I will say this. When you were talking about your book, out of all the things you talked about, that's when your energy spiked the most. You were really proud of that moment, and
Interesting.
you don't need to have a course or anything like that. You remember you're talking about the value of video. Replay this, watch yourself. That moment
Yeah.
when you were talking about the book, you genuinely got excited. So when you got excited, out of all the things you talked about, that's what stuck with me. So you could say something. Well, so tell me about yourself. Well, I'm just writing a book. It's about to be published soon, and it's about, oh, okay, that's neat. Build a story around that, and that's already something solid. But all the other stuff, I was like trying to sift through it and like make my way through all the stuff you were going with, and it's impressive. Don't get me wrong. It's just the way we talk is not the way we read, and you spoke like it's bullet points on a resume.
Thanks for thanks for the advice. Yeah, that's all I can say. I'm a bit speechless as in, oh wow, I didn't realize that's how I actually talk. And this is how I probably answer in interviews, but now I know why. If I didn't get the job now, I know why.
It's a never ending thing. And at the end of
Yeah.
the day, all I can say is subhanallah, we especially for us as Muslims, we're talking about. I like how you're really building this series about faith, and we don't want to disconnect the two. We do our best, but we leave the rest to Allah. You see somebody who
Yes.
doesn't seem qualified. It looks weird, right? You look at this person, maybe they're not dressed the best, they have like patches all over them, and you're looking at them like, why does this guy get the job? And somebody who looks well put together doesn't get it. Like at the end of the day, it's not only our efforts, it's all in the hands of Allah. Because
Allah
when
subhanahu wa ta'ala,
you
yes.
when you understand that, it's like, okay, you do your best, but you leave the rest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then everything fits and everything works out, inshallah, for the best.
That also is what kind of made you guide throughout for yourself to make Kalam Power and to possibly work throughout all of TED Ed, right? You kind of see these advantages.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I'll just say that, like for me, faith is very, very important, and especially being Muslim, it's something I'm committed to, and inshallah, I pray to stay on the course. And it's sad, when you see a lot of solid Muslim professionals that are brilliant. I mean, they spent years in medical school, they spent years in law, they spent years in engineering,
Highly
and they're
qualified,
brilliant,
yes.
highly qualified individuals. But all right, come on, give an interview. It's like, what's up with it's like, wait a second, where's your PhD, where's your knowledge? And it doesn't translate one to one. So I'm trying to say, look, if I could be the spark, or at least with Kalam Power, if I could help be the spark to help people wake up and realize that, hey, I may not be on stage, I'm not going to be a da'i that has like thousands of people and this, you don't have to be. But in
Yeah.
your own workplace, just think of your own workplace. How many people embraced Islam because my coworker Mohammed was really solid as a Muslim? He was very confident in his faith. He's very, very like just an upright human being. That's dawah right there, and you don't need an audience. And so
Yes.
when
No,
you're
that
able
that is
to,
very underestimated. Yeah, you know the story of how like, Indonesia became Muslim, right? It wasn't
yeah, it's
through it wasn't through the sword, it wasn't really through that. It was through Muslim businesses moving there, and eventually people saw the character, the no interest rule, they kind of saw the value of how Muslims stay true to their values, and they see the value of, oh, this is if this person is doing the best in life, there must be a reason behind this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything's in the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but if you just think about it, you, everything we do in this world is just, it's always guided by Allah. It's always guided. There's always something in Islam that we can always turn to and say, okay, this is how we should be, or this is how we should speak in this scenario. SubhanAllah. There's a lot of things to really cover because I'm reading this book right now called The Ideal Muslim. Do you know that book?
can't say that I have ideal Muslim written by who.
I don't know. I don't look at authors when I read the book.
Sure, 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 sure.
Yes.
So the
And
ideal
no,
Muslim.
and very and like the very first point they make is a person is good with themselves. A person's good with to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obviously, a person's always remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but a person's always good to themselves. They always have to dress nice. They always have to speak nice. They always have to they always stay true to their values, that it rubs off on other people. That's one of the first few points it makes.
All right, I'll mention something about that because you know, let's go just sidestep for a quick second about romance. Many people, they're always looking at finding that special someone, and there was this one theory or this one perspective that really got me thinking, and it's equally applicable to communication in general, which is you gotta love yourself first before you can love someone else. And the reason for that is when you love yourself, you're already validating that you're worthy of being loved. So you
Yes.
don't need external value. So people love it when you say, okay, example, we're gonna go commercial. If you see a very famous celebrity sporting a certain shirt or anything like that, oh well, if that celebrity likes this shirt, I gotta wear it too. It validates it, right?
Hmm.
That's the nature of marketing.
Yes, because
But
people look up
love,
to that celebrity.
exactly. So now apply that principle to love. If you don't love yourself, you don't value yourself, you don't respect yourself, you don't find yourself worthy of anything, then no one else is going to validate it for you. That's the thing. So that whole idea of just building it up from within as best you can. And the one way, if someone was to say, well, it's tough, it's not hard, I'm looking in the mirror and I don't like what I see. The one thing I would humbly say to that is find one thing that you really love about yourself. Maybe you have a great sense of humor. Maybe you're honest. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed you with a beautiful nose. I don't know what
You're a
what do
Muslim.
you genuinely find? You're Muslim. Like you genuinely find one thing and you will quickly see that one thing will turn to two. That two will become three. Three will become four. And then you can always improve. I didn't say, just as is, just stay as it is, but it's a really interesting theory because now it comes to communication when you're trying to apply for a job. Look, if I don't see myself taking this position, then the interviewer is not going to look at you. They're not going to waste time. They're not going to say, okay, if you don't even believe in yourself, why should I believe in you? You know? And if I can offer
Well
one
said.
more thing about this, yeah, one more thing if I can offer,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go.
Quran. Quran. Look at
Quran.
the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. No, look at the story of Yusuf. What does he say to them to after he interpreted the dream? After so Yusuf alayhi salam, he was
Yes,
released from
yes.
jail. He interpreted the dream. What is the first thing he says? When he interpreted the dream, he said, oh, Egypt is going to be in chaos now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that Yusuf alayhi salam, I'm paraphrasing, he's saying to them, hire me because I have the right knowledge.
Yes.
Yusuf alayhi salam is telling him to say, give me this job. I can do it. I'm qualified. I know how to run this place. I know how to do it because I have the right knowledge. Is he selfish? Is he like, oh, arrogant? He believes in himself. He knows what he's capable of. He stands up and he talks, and when he communicates, it reflects. And mashallah, Egypt is saved because of him. He's a legend because of this. So if he didn't talk, and think about this in our life, how many people pass up opportunities because they feel like, oh, I'm trying to be humble and I'm trying. Buddy, you're a hafiz. You memorize Quran A to Z. You know the Quran A to go lead the salah. Go. Like if you're qualified and
Yeah.
there's no one else there, go. Like just go. You know how many people I try to tell them, I say, buddy, okay, so this
Yeah,
this
no, no. I'm sometimes in a similar
inferiority
boat too, yeah.
complex, this inferiority complex is really hurting the ummah and not in a good way. There's a difference between arrogance and confidence, right? Arrogance is when you start thinking that you are all that and you have no proof. But confidence is when you believe in yourself and you have proof. I'm
Yes.
capable. I put in the work. Look, I put in the work. I can do it. I'm confident. I know what I'm doing. And all credit is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I know we went, see, the mind is thinking this, but fair. That's that.
Yeah, we went through a bit of a tangent there, but it was a valuable tangent because I got a lot of information from this. And even when you're even communicating, you're telling people this advice, it helps yourself too, right? You're thinking, oh, even when you were giving me the advice for the interview, you've said, oh, I've done this multiple times. Alhamdulillah, I'm able to see the good things and the bad things, and I can also apply that for myself. I'm guessing that's what went through your mind.
Yeah, and learning you teach and in teaching you learn. So just as much as you're learning from me, I learn from you too. You have something to like. The one way to look at it, I look at the world as a giant puzzle piece. The world is a giant puzzle piece. Everybody has a piece that's uniquely shaped that they can add to it. I have a puzzle piece. Maybe it's this big, and it's shaped like really unique to me. I'll fit into that. But you may have a bigger puzzle piece, but it's also uniquely shaped in a different way. Maybe it's the same size. You never know. All I'm trying to say is you will never have what I have, and I will never have what you have. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave everyone what they need and what they are destined for. So it's up to you to grab the opportunity, and that's what communication is all about. I'm saying communication is your ticket to Jannah, inshallah, because it's your actions. Yes, you got to be able to act, but if you can't articulate yourself, buddy, you are What does Allah tell us in the Quran? What do we have to do every day in Salah? We have to recite Quran, don't we?
Recite the Quran, yes.
When you see your Muslim brother or your Muslim sister, what do you do? What do you say?
Assalamu alaikum.
So you're always talking, you're communicating.
Yes.
So if we're not maximizing that, then we are really leaving a lot of things on the table.
Beautifully put together. That's just as expected from someone who helps people with communications. So, brother Mohammed, do you have any questions for me? Because I've done my part in asking you. If you want to learn more about me, go ahead, say anything.
Sure. I mean, my main thing is what's your dream?
Ooh, I talk about this a lot, and it does vary, but I'll talk bullet points on the resume again. Okay, you're asking me what my dream is. This isn't an interview. Unless if I treat it like an interview, then I'll do good interviews. But let's just go out this way. So, what's my dream? This is a pretty vague one, but number one, I want to be a good role model for the Muslim Ummah. I want to be someone that, or at least the people I've interacted with, or people in the community. they were able to talk to me, think of me, and say, wow, like Alhamdulillah, we have Brother Harsh in this ummah because he's helped us throughout so many problems. He's helped us through, he's helped this brother, he's helped this person, he's helped me with my problems. That's one thing, like having a great impact with people. And then the second thing I would say is I'm very big on bringing change into this world. So of course, like I'm a Muslim, and alhamdulillah, as Muslims, like we should be the one to foster innovation. We should be the ones to be at the top in terms of, and not even just innovation, but being the types of people that bring change to this world. As you look at the Muslim Ummah 1,000 years ago, like throughout the golden age of Islam, they were the ones being the best in math. They were the ones being best in science. They were the ones being the best in any sort of occupation. So inshallah, when for whatever I'm aspiring to be, I'm actually aspiring to be a management consultant so I can help with problems. But these are essentially the things that I'm looking for, bringing change and bringing a great impact on any industry I'm working in and in people that I collaborate with. And the last thing I would say is just being the jack of all trades. So I believe as a human, I'm more of a generalist in the sense where I like to do different types of things and I like to do somewhat good at it. There's this quote by this engine. He works as a part-time chef and a part-time engineer. I forgot. This was in some YouTube comment, but I don't know why it just stuck with me. He's the person worked as a part-time chef and a part-time engineer. He said, "I don't care what I am. I just know in a group of chefs, I'm the best engineer, and in a group of engineers, I'm the best chef."
Fair, fair, mashallah. Definitely. May Allah
No,
subhanahu wa ta'ala
no,
give
no, no. So how that makes me is that I told you in the beginning for the interview, like I do data analytics. I work to have this podcast and I have this book. So maybe I'll say like, oh, in a group of data analysts, I have the podcast, or in a group of podcast hosts, I have a book written down, or in a group of authors, I may not be the best author, but I do have the other two that I mentioned.
mashallah. Very cool. Does that encapsulate the dream that you have?
Encapsulates the three main things I said. So the great impact of people, great impact in the world, great impact as for myself to being a generalist in every single thing that I possibly do.
MashaAllah. Very nice, very nice. It's good to have high aspirations. May I offer one teeny thing, and then
Not offer,
I
yeah,
might.
I'll offer 10 different things. I know, yo, I'd like to absorb this information.
Amazing, man. It's good. It's good to see the enthusiasm. My main thing when it comes to someone asking like, "What's your dream?" I always want to have a one-liner. So what you talked
Yes.
about when you say I want to be a role model, I want to help the ummah, and this is a byproduct. This is not your dream. I'm just gonna be cutthroat with that. Like this is not your dream. Your dream
Yes.
should be something more concrete and something that I can latch onto. I want to be the world's best tennis player. That's a dream.
Yeah.
I want to be the world's best fill in the blank. So, Brother
I want to
Harris,
be king
what's
of the
your
pirates. Yeah, like that. These are
you want to be a
things that
Luffy, yeah, One Piece, yes. So I ask you then, so can you help me fill in this blank? Because you said a lot of great things, but it's going to be very difficult for people to help you build that dream if you can't articulate it. So
yeah.
so help me fill in this blank. Just fill in this blank for me, okay? It doesn't have to we're complicated. We got lots of things, but just I want to be the world's best.
Muslim entrepreneur.
Okay, let's chisel that down even more. So,
Yeah,
in
but
what
no, yeah,
stage?
these things. That's why I
And
said in the beginning it varies a bit. Yeah, so
it varies,
can't
does
I
it? So
can't.
you got to stick with one. The problem is, okay,
Yeah.
this is my bone to pick with regards to being a jack of all trades. This is a debate. I even posted this on LinkedIn, and I got 50-50 responses. Some
Oh, would you
people
rather
say,
be a jack or a master of one?
yeah,
Yeah, we
exactly.
talked about
You
that a
saw it
lot.
already. Okay, there you go. So like the bone I have to pick was it's good to be very versatile, like a Renaissance man. That's what they use the term to make sure that everyone is very well versed in a number of things. You okay, Brother Harris? Just checking in.
Yeah, I
You
don't know.
okay?
My laptop's about to die, so I'm just putting the charger
You
in.
plugging it in? All right, no worries. Oh,
I'm listening. Yeah, go
It's
ahead.
all good. It's all good. So like on the one side, some people say you got to be a generalist. It's good to fall back on many different skills. And then the other side is no, just sharpen one skill and get paid really, really well for it. So if you ask me, if you want to make a living, be a generalist. But if you want to make a fortune, be a specialist. That's the way I've what I've come to realize in my experience. When someone says, "Oh, I'm on Monday I'm a chef, on Tuesday I'm a doctor, on Wednesday I'm a restaurant owner, on Friday I'm a," like that's I don't know if that's supposed to be impressive or that just tells me like this person has no idea what they want. Versus look at
Yeah,
Kobe Bryant. Like Kobe Bryant for 20 solid years, I'm sticking with the Lakers day and night, eat, sleep, breathe basketball. That's all he did, and he got paid millions, and he accumulated his fame. So I'm sure there's people that are going to disagree, and people saying that yeah, you got to be able to be well-rounded. I agree to a degree. The only thing is that if you want to build a dream, you got to be crystal clear for yourself. If you're
yeah,
not clear on your dream, you say I want to be an entrepreneur. Okay, does that mean you want to help
that's
Muslims?
vague.
No, and like yeah, then sharpen it even more and more and more and more. So you want to, so let's chisel it. Let's try to spend a few moments. Let's chisel it. I want to be the world's best Muslim entrepreneur. Okay, chisel down Muslim entrepreneur. What exactly do you want to be the best in? The best videographer, the best podcast host, the best what? Don't worry.
Man,
It's
I'm
I
really
know
put
it's
on the spot. Yeah, I know.
I'm
I'm
put
really put on the. It's
I
fine. It's
know
fine.
I'm zooming in on one thing. I know it's scary because I don't want to leave out all the other
That's
stuff.
not
Don't worry.
scary.
The other stuff can come. I just need to know what's the
Yeah,
main, what's the like the you peel the onion. I got to get to the core. So what's the core here? What is that one thing that you want to be better at than no one else? Better than everyone else, I mean.
better than everyone else. Hmm.
I should call you for what? Brother Harris, you're the only guy that can fix my plumbing. You're the best plumber in town. Example. You're the best chef. I do not eat
Yes,
anyone's pizza except yours. So what I'm calling you, Brother Harris, what should I call you? What are you better at than most people? Or everyone?
because I would say normally I would say management consultant. That I'll just say
Okay.
that.
All right. That's what you're for now. I know we can improve and
Yes.
stuff and grow, but management consulting is something that you dominate in. You're good at it.
Yeah.
All right. So you can say I want to be the world's best management consultant for Muslim businesses.
Yeah.
There you go. There's your dream. And
There's
that's
my
an
dream.
idea, you see? That's a lot more palpable. Naruto, what was Naruto's dream, man?
Hokage.
That's it. There's one word. I want to be the Hokage.
Yes.
I want to be the Hokage. And people they loved him and hated him for it because his dream was simple. To the point. I want to be the king of pirates. That's it. Oh, Pokemon. I want to be the best that there ever was. I want to be the
Yeah.
greatest Pokemon
Yeah.
master. You see, you notice that these anime characters, the leads, the protagonists, they all have one vision and one goal. They didn't say I want to be the world's greatest, and XYZ. And oh, by the way, here's my side notes. You see where I'm
Yeah.
going with this? So try
Yeah.
to,
No, I know. I see exactly where you're going with this. And I know, honestly, it's a question I think about a lot. And again, I told you it varies, right? Although, yeah, it's a question I think about a lot. So I know I just like the idea that you really dumbed it down and just said, no, 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 just say one thing. Just like when Luffy says, "Yeah, I want to be king of the pirates." Other people want to be king of the pirates too, but he wants it more than everyone. So he puts the work in, and he combats them. Well, I don't know why how we went from Islam to anime just real quick. That's
hey,
just
hey,
weird.
man, like
Yeah.
it's all good. It's all good.
One thing I would say is that I am inspired by a lot of scholars that were also kind of like this, but I'm assuming for them they also had this goal of saying like, oh, I want to help the Muslim Ummah in terms of Islamic knowledge. Like the four Imams probably said, oh, I want to be the best hadith or Quran like interpreter, the best scholar there to create that. I'm not saying that's exactly
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying that's exactly what they thought of. Maybe it falls under that line.
I think maybe what it's an underlying motivation. But I would, from what I would gather about them is their intention is to preserve the deen and to spread the deen, and
Preserve the deen,
they're
exactly.
not, that's why it's a little, not you. I'm just saying like it's a little tricky
Yeah.
when we talk like that, especially with Scott. Oh, I'm going to be the greatest. All that title comes. after their time. You notice if
Yes.
you ask Bukhari, he's not going to say, at least I can't say it with 100% confidence that he's going to say, yes, I'm the one that these
I'm the scholar of my time. The people
the
that after that, yes.
this is what's known after, right? And so because their intentions were pure, they had ikhlas, they had sincerity, they had that niyyah, that intention. Okay, I got to study this deen, I got to preserve the deen, to preserve the message of Islam, and they went about it with all their heart, and that's we get the fruits of their labor because of it. So I think, and especially when it comes to Islam and deen and knowledge like that, we all, at least as Muslims, have an element of it. All I'm trying to say is, especially in our modern times, to make it more palpable and easier to digest, if you fill in that blank, then you can start to be able to anchor yourself and guide yourself and have a compass to say, let me be the, okay, if someone was to say, example, I want to be the world's best shawarma shop in town, the world's greatest shawarma. Okay, great. Now you're saying, all right, as a Muslim, how can I make that happen? What do I need to do? I need to make sure the food is halal, tip-top service. I got to make sure everything is clean. I got to treat everyone with respect. I got to do the quality, all that stuff, right? And so you just say, I want to be the world's greatest shawarma shop, but at the same time you're saying, okay, as a Muslim, how do I implement as many of these teachings as possible? So that's the idea.
That's a very valid point, yes. Because times have kind of changed in our aspect, right? We can't really compare thousands of years ago. Although but yeah, if there's one thing I would take about it, just keep everything sort of simple in the sense where if someone were to ask you, you give them a very
Just
generic,
one,
just one liner,
that's
and then
it.
if they have any questions about that, you can go into
That's
depth on that.
exactly, you got it. You got it. That's the goal.
Okay, are there any other questions, or is that
I think that's pretty
all you're
good,
gonna
man.
want to give?
I know we don't want to get all philosophical here. I think that's pretty solid, brother Harris. But I appreciate, switching gears and allowing me to hold the mic for that. All I can say is, mashallah, may Allah continue to bless your endeavors and this initiative.
I
Whoever
mean,
hears this, and I hope and pray at some point, we don't hold the keys. Allah is the one that holds the keys to people's hearts to change and get inspired. So if this conversation's been beneficial in any way, shape, or form, only by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, truly grateful for this honor. If I may just plug shamelessly, in terms of what I can offer the viewers, is that on kalampower.com, you have two things you can do. Number one, free interactive mini course. Takes you 20 minutes to do. It's called the 10 connection keys. 10 connection keys.
yes, I
What's
saw
the
that
point?
actually.
What's the point of it? The point of it is to help you strengthen your network. These 10 practical strategies that you can implement right now. You don't have to wait 10 years. Right now, that will instantly make you more able to be connected with people. So that's the first. And second, if someone's saying, you know what, I'm ready to take the leap and ready to invest in communication, feel free to book a free discovery call. Happy to chat it up. So kalampower.com for all the resources and things available. But truly, truly grateful, Brother Harris, for this opportunity.
This isn't sponsored, I will tell you that. And he actually beat me to it. I was gonna tell people to do that, so jazakallah khair for that. But actually, we're nearing the end of this episode. You did kind of make ending remarks, but if there's one final thing you'd like to say, go ahead, Brother Mohammed.
Sure. What I'd say is, how do I put this? Let's see. See, you got to think. Okay. If there's one thing that will instantly improve your communication, is a well-timed pause. Many people just want to talk, talk, talk. If you really want to listen, you want to be able to pause at the right time, really let the words sink in. Believe me, it makes a world of a difference. The best communicators, the best speakers are the best listeners. We have two ears and one mouth for a reason. So if you give yourself permission to breathe, give yourself permission to pause, you'll be able to be clear to you, and you'll be able to be clear to others. And so if you're not clear to
That's
yourself,
how it's articulate, right? That's how speech is articulate.
if it's not clear to you, If your message isn't clear to you, if you don't believe in yourself, if you're not confident in yourself, no one else will be your cheerleader. So be your own cheerleader. You only you only got life is hard enough as it is. You don't have to beat yourself up. I pray that with communication that we can improve.
Jazakallah khair for that. Brother Muhammad, I would just like to thank you for your time and your just wisdom for this podcast episode. And also thank you for the tips beforehand before we started on the lighting. And yeah, someone of your expertise is Alhamdulillah, I was able to bring you on and then you were able to give me advice personally. And now everyone is knowing what I'm gonna do in the future. So inshallah, I believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Qadr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of planners. He has something, it's the best things for everyone who believes in him and who are the greatest of Muslims. And with Ramadan coming up, I think everyone is going to be more motivated to do like good deeds and eventually find their way. And the way how this would lead to communication is everyone who kind of has a bit of a problem, even if you think you're an expert on communication, maybe try out Kalam Power, like Brother Muhammad said. There's one that's a 20-minute course, which it just highlights the basic things that are powerful for an effective communication skills. And Brother Muhammad, thank you for being on again. I have to say this again. And this is the All Facts Podcast. I'm Hars Fakar. If you need anyone else, if you would like anyone in a different field or a different Muslim entrepreneur that you want me to be on the podcast about, to feel free to comment down below. Brother Mohammed, is it okay if I share your LinkedIn in the description or your
Of
contact with
course,
Kalam
yeah,
Power?
go for it.
Okay, so his contact will be in the description. And this is Haris Fakar. Thank you, Brother Muhammad, and we're out.